It's something we do every single day, right? We eat. But have you ever really truly stopped to think about the journey your food takes to get to your plate? Because that journey, well, it's become this incredibly complex web of technology, corporate power, and global supply chains. So in this explainer, we're going to unravel that whole story and try to understand the system behind every single bite we take. Let's kick things off with this really powerful idea from the writer and farmer Wendell Berry. Eating is an agricultural act. It's such a simple sentence, but it points to this deep, profound connection that, honestly, most of us have completely forgotten about. Every meal we eat ties us back to the land, to a farm, to a culture. But somewhere along the line, that connection just snapped. And yeah, that brings us right to the heart of it all, the big question for this explainer. How did we go from this simple act of survival to a massive, global industrial system? How did the food on our plates get so unbelievably complicated? To figure that out, we've got to look back at what we left behind. To really get where we are now, we have to understand what our food system used to be. Seeing where we came from is the only way to grasp just how much has changed. For pretty much all of human history, your dinner plate was a direct reflection of where you lived. It had to be. Food was local, it was seasonal, and preservation, that was literally a life or death skill. I mean, think about it. The Romans were curing olives in seawater, and medieval cooks were using a pound of salt for every 10 pounds of butter just to make it last. In ancient Mesopotamia, bread and beer weren't just food, they were currency. You could get paid in beer. Your diet was basically a map of your backyard. And this is where the idea of cuisine comes from. It was never just about a bunch of recipes. No, cuisine was a culture's collective wisdom about its own landscape, what you could grow, how to keep it from spoiling, and of course, how to make it taste good. It was this beautiful system that connected people directly to the health of their land. So how did this all start to fall apart? Well, the 20th century unleashed a series of technological revolutions that just fundamentally rewired our relationship with food. And in the process, it severed that direct line to the land. And you can just see on this timeline how crazy fast it all happened. Tractors replaced horses, suddenly one farmer could do the work of dozens. After World War II, chemicals that were developed for war were re-engineered into synthetic fertilizers and pesticides. And then in our own homes, the hum of the electric fridge and the click of a gas stove replaced the daily chore of managing an icebox or a wood fire. And finally, the Green Revolution came along with these new high-yield grains that, with a little help from fertilizer, promised this unbelievable abundance. Now, here's the crucial point. This wasn't just a change in technology. It was a total shift in philosophy. Farming went from being this practice of, maintenance and resilience, where you saw the farm as a complex ecosystem, to a model of production and efficiency, where the farm is basically a factory. The whole focus shifted from the long-term health of the soil to the short-term goal of getting the biggest yield possible. And these huge industrial changes, they didn't just change our farms. They created a totally new kind of food system, one that wasn't built around ecology or culture, but around corporate profit. With industrial processing, a whole new formula for success emerged. Food companies figured out that 3 super cheap, simple ingredients could make their products absolutely irresistible: salt, sugar, and fat. These 3 things became the building blocks for a new, super processed diet, one that was engineered for maximum shelf life and allure, not for actual nutrition. And what happened? The entire food industry became incredibly concentrated. I mean, look at this. In almost every category, from beer and coffee to meat and seeds, just a tiny handful of massive corporations came to control the entire market. And that gave them this immense, almost unbelievable power over what we all eat and how it gets made. This quote right here from food scientist Howard Moskowitz, it just pulls the curtain back on the whole operation. This isn't cooking, he calls it an engineering approach. They use these complex mathematical models to pinpoint the exact combination of flavors and textures, what they call the bliss point, that creates the absolute maximum grading. They are literally designing food to be addictive. And this corporate power, it goes way beyond the grocery store. Way beyond. Back in 1954, the United Fruit Company, with the help of the CIA, actually supported a coup to overthrow the democratically elected government of Guatemala, all to protect its banana business. More recently, giants like Cargill have funded these front groups to corrupt academic research and fight public health roles, while companies like Walmart have just systematically crushed any attempts by workers to unionize for better wages. So, what's the real price of all this? That's the key question, isn't it? Because the sticker price on our food is totally deceptive. The real costs to our environment, to our health, to our society, well, they're almost always hidden from view. The ecological bill alone is just staggering. Industrial practices like intensive tilling have destroyed our soil, leading to the kind of erosion that caused the Dust Bowl in the 1930s and, believe it or not, is still happening today. We're pumping water out of ancient aquifers way faster than they can recharge, creating these unsustainable food bubbles in places we desperately need to grow food. And the waste from these giant factory farms is polluting our rivers and our drinking water. I want you to just think about this number for a second. 15. Every 15 minutes in the United States, someone dies from an antibiotic-resistant infection. And one of the key drivers of this massive crisis is the routine overuse of antibiotics in industrial livestock operations. It's a practice used to make animals grow faster and to stop diseases that spread like wildfire in overcrowded, unsanitary conditions. And beyond the ecological damage, there's a heartbreaking human cost. This quote from Sophia, a farm worker in Vermont, it just gives you this tiny glimpse into the constant fear that defines the lives of the people who pick our food. Their work is absolutely essential, but they're often totally invisible, forced to live in the shadows. And this number really drives that point home. 95%. That's how many agricultural workers in California are immigrants. So many are undocumented, which makes them vulnerable to exploitation, working for poverty-level wages. They are the fragile backbone of our entire food system. Okay, so we've seen how this system was built, and that leads us to the most important question of all. What's next? How can we start to think differently about designing our next meal? Well, one really visionary idea comes from the chef Dan Barber. He calls it the third plate, and it's a way of eating that basically flips the whole industrial logic on its head. So instead of demanding that farms grow specific things for our plate, the plate is designed around what the farm actually needs to be healthy and sustainable. You're creating a cuisine that actively helps restore the soil. It's brilliant. And this contrast here, it really captures the two competing visions for the future of food. On one side, you've got the wizards. They believe we can invent our way out of this mess with cool tech solutions like vertical farms, GMOs, and lab-grown meat. But on the other side, you have the prophets. And they argue that we have to work within nature's limits, that we need to scale back our consumption and embrace methods like regenerative agriculture and agroecology. Which brings us to our final thought. This massive, complex, and, let's be honest, often destructive food system, it didn't just happen by accident. It was designed by engineers, by marketers, by executives. So the real question for all of us is this. If it was designed once, can we, together, redesign it for a healthier, more just, and more sustainable future?